You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Domain 2 provides a comprehensive framework for protecting data across its entire lifecycle in cloud environments. Unlike on-premises systems, where data often resides within well-defined perimeters, cloud data can span multiple services, regions, and providers. This introduces both opportunities and risks. On one hand, cloud platforms offer powerful tools for encryption, monitoring, and access control. On the other, they increase complexity, requiring disciplined governance and consistent application of security principles. The purpose of this domain is to show how organizations can safeguard data from the moment it is created until its secure disposal, ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability throughout. By addressing each stage of the lifecycle, learners gain the perspective needed to balance innovation with compliance, operational needs with privacy, and agility with assurance. Cloud data security is therefore not a single control, but a holistic discipline. The scope of this domain covers data lifecycle management from creation through secure disposal. This means that every touchpoint, data generation, storage, use, sharing, archiving, and deletion must be controlled in a way that mitigates risk. For example, data stored in a cloud database must be encrypted and access restricted, but its eventual disposal must also be verifiable, ensuring that sensitive information does not linger unnecessarily. Each phase carries unique challenges, ensuring confidentiality at rest, preventing unauthorized access in use, and maintaining integrity during transmission. By treating data as an asset with a defined lifecycle, organizations shift from ad hoc security measures to structured strategies. This lifecycle-based approach aligns with both regulatory frameworks and business expectations, making it the foundation for sustainable cloud adoption. Data governance is the cornerstone of lifecycle control. It defines ownership, stewardship, and custodial responsibilities, ensuring accountability for how data is managed. Ownership determines who is ultimately responsible for a dataset. Stewardship provides oversight for quality and compliance, and custodianship handles day-to-day management tasks. Without governance, data often becomes orphaned, with no clear accountability for its security or accuracy. With governance, organizations can assign roles, enforce policies, and resolve conflicts about access or usage. For example, a customer dataset might be owned by the sales department, stewarded by compliance, and managed technically by IT. Governance clarifies these distinctions, reducing ambiguity and ensuring that protective measures are applied consistently. It transforms data from an unmanaged liability into a governed asset aligned with business priorities. Data discovery is the process of locating sensitive information wherever it resides in cloud systems. Cloud services make it easy to spin up new storage or analytics environments, but this agility often leads to sprawl. Sensitive information may be scattered across object stores, databases, and logs, sometimes without clear visibility. Discovery tools scan environments to identify sensitive fields, such as credit card numbers or health records, flagging them for protection. Discovery also includes mapping data flows, identifying how information moves between services, regions, or applications. Without this knowledge, organizations cannot protect what they do not know exists. Discovery is therefore the foundation of classification, monitoring, and compliance. By shining light into every corner of the cloud environment, Discovery allows organizations to take informed, targeted action to safeguard their most critical information. Classification builds on discovery by assigning sensitivity labels that drive handling requirements. Data may be categorized as public, internal, confidential, or restricted, with each level corresponding to specific protections. For example, confidential customer records may require encryption, strict access controls, and limited retention, while public marketing material may be freely shared. Classification enables automation, allowing systems to apply controls consistently based on labels rather than ad hoc judgment. In practice, this might mean that all restricted data automatically requires multi-factor access and audit logging. Classification also simplifies compliance reporting, providing a clear inventory of sensitive data. Without classification, controls are applied inconsistently, creating gaps and inefficiencies. With it, data security becomes systematic, ensuring that resources are directed where they matter most. Data minimization complements classification by reducing the amount of sensitive information collected and retained. The principle is simple: data that is not collected cannot be lost, stolen, or misused. Minimization requires organizations to critically examine why data is gathered and whether it is necessary for stated purposes. For example, collecting birth dates for account creation may not be essential if age ranges suffice. Similarly, retaining logs indefinitely creates unnecessary exposure. Minimization enforces discipline, ensuring that data volume aligns with purpose. In regulated industries, it also satisfies legal requirements, such as GDPR's mandate to limit processing to necessary data. By minimizing data at collection and enforcing retention limits, organizations shrink their attack surface and reduce both technical and compliance risks. Encryption is one of the most visible and powerful data protections. It ensures confidentiality at rest, in transit, and, increasingly, in use. At rest, encryption prevents attackers who gain physical or virtual access from reading stored information. In transit, it protects data as it crosses networks, shielding it from eavesdropping or tampering. Encryption in use, such as homomorphic encryption or trusted execution environments, protects data during computation, though adoption is still emerging. The effectiveness of encryption depends on algorithms, key strength, and implementation. Weak algorithms or poor key management can undermine even strong designs. Nevertheless, encryption provides assurance that even if data is intercepted, it remains unintelligible without the proper keys. It is the bedrock of confidentiality in cloud environments, woven into nearly every service offering. Key management is inseparable from encryption. Without disciplined generation, storage, rotation, and destruction of keys, encryption is ineffective. Key management systems provide secure repositories, automate rotation, and enforce access controls. For example, a well-designed system ensures that no single administrator can access keys without oversight, reducing insider risk. Rotation ensures that if a key is compromised, exposure is time-limited. Destruction ensures that retired keys cannot be reused or recovered. Key management also addresses segregation of duties, ensuring that keys are not controlled by the same parties who manage data. In cloud environments, customers may choose between provider-managed keys or customer-controlled options, depending on trust boundaries. Effective key management turns encryption from theory into reliable practice, providing confidence that data remains secure across its lifecycle. Access control enforces the principle of least privilege, ensuring that users and systems have only the permissions they require. In cloud environments, access control is often role-based, attribute-based, or a combination of both. Role-based models assign permissions based on job functions, while attribute-based models consider contextual factors like location, device, or time of day. Access controls must be regularly reviewed and recertified, as privileges tend to accumulate over time. They also must integrate with federation, allowing identities to flow between enterprise and cloud providers securely. Misconfigurations in access control are among the most common causes of breaches, often granting attackers more power than intended. By designing granular, dynamic access models, organizations reduce the risk of privilege escalation and unauthorized access to sensitive data. Tokenization and masking reduce exposure by substituting sensitive fields with non-sensitive equivalents. Tokenization replaces a value such as a credit card number with a unique token, keeping the original secure in a controlled vault. Masking obscures parts of data, such as showing only the last 4 digits of a number. These techniques allow applications and analytics to function without exposing full sensitive values. For example, an e-commerce platform may tokenize payment information, ensuring that its systems never directly handle raw credit card data. Masking may be used in test environments to protect privacy while preserving functionality. Together, these methods minimize the footprint of sensitive data, lowering the risk that breaches will expose critical details. They exemplify how security can enable functionality while reducing exposure. Data loss prevention, or DLP, adds another layer by monitoring and controlling how sensitive information moves. DLP tools analyze traffic, storage, and endpoints for patterns like credit card numbers, flagging or blocking suspicious transfers. In cloud environments, DLP extends to monitoring object stores, collaboration tools, and email. For example, a DLP system may block attempts to upload sensitive client records to unauthorized cloud drives. By enforcing policies at the point of use, DLP helps prevent both accidental leaks and deliberate exfiltration. Its strength lies in visibility, making otherwise invisible flows detectable and controllable. However, DLP requires tuning to balance security with usability, as overly aggressive blocking can disrupt legitimate work. When applied thoughtfully, it becomes a powerful safeguard against one of the most common risks: data leaving trusted boundaries. Backup and recovery strategies ensure that data remains available and intact even when primary systems fail. Backups create copies of critical data sets stored in separate systems or regions. Recovery processes restore data from these backups when corruption, deletion, or disaster strikes. In cloud, backups may be automated, incremental, or snapshot-based, depending on workload requirements. A sound strategy includes not only creating backups but also testing recovery, as untested backups often prove incomplete or unusable. Backup strategies also complement replication, ensuring that data can be restored even if live systems are compromised. By planning for recovery, organizations transform data loss from a catastrophic event into a manageable disruption. This assurance is essential for both business continuity and regulatory compliance. Data retention and records management align storage duration with legal and business requirements. Regulations often specify how long certain data must be kept. For example, tax records for 7 years, and when it must be securely deleted. Retention policies prevent both premature disposal and indefinite hoarding, striking a balance between compliance and minimization. Records management ensures that data is accessible during its required lifetime and verifiably destroyed afterward. In cloud environments where storage is cheap and easy to scale, the temptation to keep everything is strong, but unmanaged retention increases costs and exposure, creating risk. By formalizing retention policies and automating enforcement, organizations ensure that data remains both useful and compliant across its lifecycle. Data residency and sovereignty issues arise because cloud providers store data across global regions. Organizations must ensure that data resides in jurisdictions that align with regulatory and contractual obligations. For example, a healthcare provider may be required to keep patient data within national borders, while a financial firm may face restrictions on cross-border transfers. Sovereignty also extends to legal access. Governments may compel providers to release data stored in their jurisdictions. Threat modeling must therefore include residency as a control, balancing performance, resilience, and compliance. Cloud providers offer regional controls, but customers must actively select and enforce them. By addressing residency and sovereignty, organizations avoid legal exposure and build trust with stakeholders who demand assurance that data is handled lawfully. E-discovery and legal hold processes ensure that data can be preserved and collected during litigation or investigations. Legal holds prevent modification or deletion of relevant data, even if retention policies would otherwise expire it. E-discovery tools enable search and retrieval across vast data stores, providing structured access for legal teams. In cloud, this capability must extend across object storage, collaboration platforms, and archives, often under tight deadlines. Governance frameworks must ensure that holds are applied consistently, and that collected data remains intact. Failure in this area can result in legal sanctions or lost cases. By embedding e-discovery and legal hold into data governance, organizations prepare not only for compliance but also for legal resilience, ensuring that obligations can be met when disputes arise. Privacy by design integrates respect for personal data into systems from the outset rather than as an afterthought. This principle requires embedding consent mechanisms, transparency, and data subject rights into processing activities. For example, applications must allow users to see what data is collected, provide opt-in consent where required, and support rights such as erasure or access. In cloud systems, this may mean designing APIs and storage workflows to flag, track, and act on personal data consistently. Privacy by design shifts responsibility upstream, ensuring that compliance is engineered rather than retrofitted. It also strengthens trust, as users gain confidence that their information is handled responsibly. In a world where privacy expectations and regulations continue to expand, privacy by design ensures that cloud adoption remains sustainable and aligned with ethical standards. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Integrity controls are fundamental for ensuring that data has not been altered without authorization. Techniques such as hashing, checksums, and digital signatures provide ways to verify that data remains intact during storage or transmission. A hash generates a unique fingerprint for a piece of data, and any unauthorized change will alter that fingerprint, signaling tampering. Checksums are often used for error detection in storage and transfer, while digital signatures provide both integrity and authenticity by tying data to a trusted identity. In cloud environments, integrity checks are critical for ensuring the trustworthiness of data replicated across regions or shared through APIs. For example, when a software artifact is downloaded from a repository, verifying its signature ensures it has not been modified in transit. These controls support both operational reliability and compliance by proving that data can be trusted. Provenance and lineage track the origin and history of data, documenting how it has been transformed and what controls have applied at each stage. In analytics-heavy cloud environments, data often flows through multiple processing steps, from ingestion to transformation to visualization. Without lineage, organizations may struggle to prove where a dataset came from or whether it has been altered. Provenance establishes that a dataset originated from a trusted source, while lineage provides the audit trail of modifications, merges, or aggregations. Together, they strengthen confidence in data quality and enable compliance with regulatory requirements. For instance, financial reporting may require demonstrating that numbers were generated from original transactions through validated processes. Provenance and lineage thus provide transparency and accountability, turning data pipelines into traceable and verifiable systems. Secure sharing controls govern how data is accessed collaboratively without losing protection. In cloud environments, sharing may occur across accounts, organizations, or even public platforms. Governance requires defining who can access data, for what purpose, and for how long. Time-bound permissions, least privilege sharing, and explicit approval workflows prevent oversharing. For example, a partner may receive temporary access to a dataset through a signed URL that expires after a defined period. Secure sharing also involves monitoring, ensuring that access is logged and that anomalies are detected. By designing sharing mechanisms carefully, organizations balance collaboration with control, enabling innovation without exposing sensitive assets. Cloud-native tools make this possible at scale, but only when combined with thoughtful governance that prioritizes both access and accountability. Secure APIs are central to cloud data security, as they often serve as the primary gateways to information. APIs must authenticate requests to confirm identity, authorize them against defined policies, and throttle traffic to prevent abuse. For example, an analytics API may only allow certain roles to query sensitive datasets, while rate limiting prevents denial of service attacks. Secure APIs also require encryption in transit, input validation, and robust logging. Without these safeguards, APIs can become high-value targets for attackers seeking data exfiltration. In threat modeling, APIs often represent both critical functionality and critical risk. By treating them as secure front doors to data, organizations ensure that access remains controlled and resilient. APIs become not just interfaces but enforcers of governance, shaping how data is consumed safely in cloud systems. Monitoring and analytics complement preventative measures by detecting anomalous access patterns that may signal threats. Cloud providers offer native telemetry that tracks who accessed data, when, and from where. Security analytics platforms can correlate this information with known attack patterns, highlighting suspicious behavior, such as mass downloads or access from unusual geographies. For example, a sudden spike in queries against a sensitive database might indicate insider misuse or compromised credentials. Monitoring is not passive. It provides the detection and feedback loop that enables timely intervention. Without it, breaches may go unnoticed for months, amplifying damage. With it, organizations gain the ability to respond quickly, reducing impact. In cloud data security, monitoring ensures that controls are not just assumed to work, but are continuously validated against real-world activity. Secrets management protects the credentials, keys, and connection strings that underpin data access. In cloud systems, secrets are the keys to the kingdom, and mishandling them creates severe risks. Hard-coding secrets into code repositories or storing them in plain text files is a common but dangerous practice. Secrets management systems provide secure storage, rotation, and retrieval of credentials, often with auditing capabilities. For example, a cloud-native vault might inject database passwords into applications at runtime without exposing them directly to developers. Regular rotation ensures that compromised secrets have limited utility. By centralizing and automating secrets management, organizations reduce both accidental leaks and deliberate theft. In the broader picture, secrets management enforces discipline, ensuring that the foundations of access remain secure and auditable throughout the data lifecycle. Data lakes and analytics environments require special attention because of their scale and complexity. These environments often aggregate massive amounts of structured and unstructured data, making them valuable targets. Security in this context involves isolation, ensuring that workloads and tenants are separated, cataloging, which organizes data for governance, and query-level access control, which limits what users can see and do. For instance, a data scientist may query aggregated metrics without being able to access raw, personally identifiable information. Without these safeguards, data lakes risk becoming swamps of unprotected, sprawling information. By applying layered controls, organizations ensure that analytics environments enable insight without undermining privacy or compliance. In essence, governance turns data lakes into managed reservoirs rather than uncontrolled flood zones. Multi-cloud strategies add complexity by distributing data across multiple providers. Consistency becomes the challenge. Policies, key custody, and access controls must align across different platforms. For example, encryption standards must remain uniform whether data resides in AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, and keys must be managed with clear boundaries of custody. Without coordination, inconsistencies emerge, creating weak links that attackers can exploit. Multi-cloud governance therefore requires abstraction layers, policy synchronization, and unified monitoring. It is not enough to secure each provider independently. Resilience demands that policies extend coherently across all. The multi-cloud reality is often driven by business needs, but security must ensure that this diversity does not degrade protection. Consistency is the principle that converts multi-cloud from a liability into a strategic advantage. Bring your own key, or BYOK, and hold your own key, or HYOK. Models redefine trust boundaries in cloud data security. BYOK allows customers to generate and manage their own keys, while providers use them to encrypt services. HYOK extends control further, ensuring that keys never leave customer custody. These models appeal to organizations with high compliance requirements or low trust in provider-managed systems. However, they also introduce responsibility, customers must manage key rotation, protection, and recovery with precision. A lost key can render data permanently inaccessible. BYOK and HYOK highlight the trade-off between control and convenience, reminding organizations that sovereignty comes with operational burden. They exemplify how governance decisions shape not only security posture but also day-to-day responsibilities in cloud adoption. Immutable storage and write once, read many, or WOM, mechanisms enforce tamper resistance, supporting compliance and forensic needs. Once data is written, it cannot be altered or deleted until its retention period expires. This is vital for regulated industries, where records must be preserved exactly as created. For example, financial firms may need to store trade records immutably for 7 years. Immutable storage also protects against ransomware, preventing attackers from encrypting or modifying critical backups. By enforcing immutability, organizations create data anchors that can be trusted in audits and investigations. These mechanisms are not just technical features. They embody legal and ethical commitments to preserving truth and accountability in data. De-identification, anonymization, and pseudonymization reduce the risk of re-identifying individuals in datasets. De-identification removes obvious personal identifiers, while anonymization seeks to make re-identification practically impossible. Pseudonymization replaces identifiers with reversible tokens, preserving utility while limiting exposure. These techniques are essential for analytics, allowing organizations to derive value from data without violating privacy. For instance, healthcare providers may anonymize patient records for research while ensuring that identities remain protected. The effectiveness of these methods depends on context and rigor. Weak anonymization can be reversed with auxiliary data. Threat modeling must therefore include re-identification risk, ensuring that protections remain strong. By applying these techniques, organizations balance innovation with privacy, using data responsibly while honoring the rights of individuals. Secure deletion ensures that data is permanently removed when no longer needed. Techniques include crypto erase, which destroys encryption keys to render data unreadable, overwriting methods that replace stored values, and physical destruction for hardware. In cloud environments, deletion is often abstracted, so customers must rely on provider assurances and evidence of compliance. Secure deletion is not only a security measure but also a compliance requirement, ensuring that expired records are not recoverable. Without it, sensitive data may linger in backups, snapshots, or caches, creating unnecessary risk. By enforcing secure deletion as a standard practice, organizations close the loop in the data lifecycle, ensuring that data is not only protected while active, but also responsibly retired. Evidence for compliance ties data security practices back to frameworks and regulations. Logs, reports, and certifications provide traceability, proving that controls were applied and effective. For example, encryption logs demonstrate that data was protected, access logs show who interacted with sensitive records, and audit trails confirm that retention and deletion policies were enforced. This evidence is critical for external regulators, internal auditors, and customer assurance. It also strengthens governance, ensuring that compliance is not based on assumptions but on verifiable proof. In cloud environments, evidence generation must be continuous and automated, as manual processes cannot keep pace. This transparency creates confidence, demonstrating that data security is both intentional and effective. Third-party data processors introduce risks that must be governed through contracts and continuous oversight. Cloud systems often rely on partners for processing, analytics, or storage, creating chains of responsibility. Contracts must specify security expectations, data handling practices, and incident reporting timelines. Assurance activities, such as audits or certifications, provide visibility into whether processors meet obligations. Without oversight, third parties may become weak links, exposing data through negligence or misaligned priorities. Governance ensures that accountability extends across the ecosystem, making third-party relationships part of the security posture rather than blind spots. This practice underscores that data security is not only about technology but also about trust, accountability, and enforceable agreements. For learners, the exam relevance of Domain 2 lies in selecting controls that match data sensitivity, use cases, and legal context. Scenarios may ask when to use tokenization versus encryption, how to enforce retention policies, or how to secure data across multi-cloud providers. The key is recognizing that different workloads and legal obligations demand tailored approaches, not one-size-fits-all answers. Mastery of these concepts prepares professionals to design data protections that are both technically sound and contextually appropriate. Beyond the exam, this knowledge equips them to balance innovation with compliance, privacy with utility, and agility with assurance. In summary, Domain 2 unifies governance, access, encryption, monitoring, and lifecycle controls to protect data in the cloud. It emphasizes that security is not a single feature but a system of interlocking practices, from discovery and classification to monitoring and secure deletion. By addressing risks across the lifecycle, organizations ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability while meeting regulatory and ethical obligations. Domain 2 provides the blueprint for treating data not just as information, but as a critical asset that demands stewardship, discipline, and continuous protection. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.